My project was forming a Virginia National Down Syndrome Society Governmental Affairs Committee. That's kind of a mouthful, and I've gotten used to calling it a GAC. So when I say that, that's what I mean, a Governmental Affairs Committee. And I wanted you to know why it matters to me. And this is my son Trey in 2001 when he was born. He was actually 5 months old there shortly after heart surgery. He's now almost 10, and I've realized that he's growing up and very fast. So at 5 months, my vision, my view of the future was just short-sighted, and now that he's become 10, I've started to look towards the future and what his life is really going to look like instead of just what his life is going to look like tomorrow or next week. What is it going to look like when he's 18 or 20 or maybe even 50? So he deserves to have the life of his choosing. He's very stubborn, and he will be most happy if he can make as many choices as he possibly can in his own life. So my goal is to help him and others like him grow up to become valued members of their community. I thought it would be worth mentioning, too, that Down syndrome is the most commonly occurring genetic condition. It occurs in 1 in 691 babies that are born. Over 400,000 people have Down syndrome in the United States, and Down syndrome is not related to ethnicity, religion, or socioeconomic status. I put on your handout some more facts about Down syndrome, and I'm surprised I left off my favorite, which is 80% of people with Down syndrome are born to mothers younger than 35. So in the process of raising my son and becoming involved in our Down Syndrome Association locally, I was encouraged to go to the Buddy Walk on Washington that the National Down Syndrome Society has organized. This year was their second annual event. And over 200 participants attended the training and visited their elected officials in D.C. Our association sent 2 self-advocates and 6 parent representatives. And so it kind of opened my mind to realizing that NDSS does quite a good job at the national level. And then more locally, I've gone to our General Assembly several times over the last couple of years. This is from this recent year at the Coalition for Virginians with Mental Disabilities rally in 2011. And we visited our legislators that day. You can see Chip Dodd from Support Services. Actually, he was representing Virginia Network of Private Providers. And Lisa Lane was representing the ARC of Southampton Roads. I was representing the Down Syndrome Association of Hampton Roads, and there's Jamie LeBon of the ARC of Virginia. And it's really nice to be able to kind of have a similar message, but be representing larger groups of people. So I went to that, but I also felt like Down syndrome associations and parents of individuals with Down syndrome and self-advocates with Down syndrome have not had adequate representation at the state or local level. Even though our voice is being heard nationally, it's not necessarily being heard at the state level. And again, this was at the ARC of Southampton Roads, the ARC of Southampton Roads Chapter Day. So I feel like the Down syndrome associations could collaborate with other organizations with similar legislative agendas and would give a stronger voice to individuals with Down syndrome. So that led me to finding out about the Virginia National Down Syndrome Society Governmental Affairs Committee. In fact, I actually had heard about it before because I was on the steering committee in 2009 that was started up by Charlie House. As Lisa mentioned, he was a recent Partners in Policymaking graduate as well. But the GAC, the aim of the GAC is a program to help Down syndrome support organizations, parents, and self-advocates across states to join forces with NDSS National Policy Center to achieve positive systems change for individuals with Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities at the federal, state, and local levels of government. I think it's interesting that in their mission they include other intellectual disabilities, and I really love that. I think we all need to work together. So the purpose is to work in collaboration with NDSS to promote and pass federal legislation and to influence the design of regulation and other policy. Equally important, GACs are also focused on developments in state legislatures. In recent years, many federal statutes have given an increasing amount of discretion to the states. In order to ensure that these statutes are implemented in the best interests of individuals with intellectual disabilities, these statewide Down syndrome coalitions are critical. So, there are 13 other states that have NDSS GACs. Their accomplishments have included holding policy seminars on specific issues, having GAC members serve on statewide task forces, and developing and influencing legislation and regulations. There's a criteria that had to be met for Virginia to be considered for the formation of one of these NDSS GACs. And this is the second attempt to create a GAC in our state. We have 5 Down syndrome associations in our state that I'm aware of: Greater Richmond, Hampton Roads, Roanoke, Fredericksburg, and Northern Virginia. So where are we now? Our executive committee has been reformed, our steering committee. Our Yahoo group has been set up to facilitate online communication and to store information. We've set a date for our required training for October 28th and 29th, and we're pretty sure it's going to be here at the Embassy Suites. We're in the process of securing it. We have a draft agenda for the training. We have speakers for the training that we've selected. We haven't quite gotten around to inviting them yet. And we're requesting funding from both within our associations and other sources. But we did, in between there, had to show that the majority of Down syndrome associations in our state were on board with doing this and had members that could represent their associations. So I kind of skipped that step. We were chosen. We are one of 2 states this year that are going to be forming one. Texas is the other state. Now we're only 2 this year. NDSS has lost a little bit of funding, so they're not putting any funds into it, but their expertise and speakers. So the challenges I've had in my project are time. We're all volunteers on the committee. We all have busy lives, and we all have children with Down syndrome. There's been difficulty finding volunteers across the state who have time and interest. There's also a large number of people on our executive committee. So when you have 5 Down syndrome associations and 2 people each, getting everyone together at one time has been challenging. And it's been difficult because with most of the people, we haven't had any face-to-face meetings. So it's been difficult setting realistic goals and time frames. And it's been a little bit challenging to understand the role of NDSS. They have had a different process through each of their states that they've done this with and don't have a set way to do it. So where are we going? After our training, our statewide GAC will begin advocating for our selected priorities and legislative agenda. We'll continue to meet by phone conference once a month, which is what we're doing now. We'll continue having the guidance of NDSS on our calls for 6 months. And after that, a representative from our GAC will participate in national conference calls every 6 weeks to collaborate with the other GACs across the country. Our GAC will collaborate with other advocacy organizations with similar legislative agendas. And my ultimate goal is that individuals with Down syndrome will have a voice and will be influential in creating positive change for all people with disabilities. And I wanted to thank my family and friends whose support and encouragement has meant more to me than they will ever know. Aww. Do you have any questions? No. In that case, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a taste of my post-PIP projects. I seem to have a lot of projects going on. And Ivy and I are doing, we've come up with Inclusion Advocates on the Run. So we've done a couple of runs where Ivy encourages me to keep on going, and that's been really fun. That was at the March of Dimes walk, and the other one was the Run for Cerebral Palsy. And we hope to continue to skydiving for our Inclusion Advocates on the Fly. So if you'd like to join us in either of those projects, you're welcome to do that too. Time for dinner?